population here for the whole valley, everything, was less than 100,000. Now it's about 3 million for the whole valley.
Wow.
Yeah. And this town didn't even exist before 1905. The only reason this town is here is because they put a train route from LA to Salt Lake City, and Union Pacific made a stop here to get water. Because it was all steam engines back then. So they needed water. And that's why it's called Las Vegas. Is because Las Vegas is the meadows. It's Spanish for the meadows. So in English, if you translated Las Vegas, it means the meadows. And so there's a place back up a little bit from here called the Springs Preserve. Is that how you pronounce it? Honnold?
Is that how it was?
Honnold? Alex Honnold?
Honnold, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think he's got a house here. His girlfriend twisted his arm and said, "We're gonna get a house."
Yeah, I think he had a child.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, like, especially a father, it's like, okay, I know this is how you live, but you want to keep me around, this is what you need to do. Yeah. Well, I guess they're waiting for him to. So where was I? I was telling you about
Yep.
Vegas. Yeah, so west side called the Springs Preserve, and that's where they got the water.
Okay.
So that's what started the town. And so Union Pacific auctioned land off on Fremont, where Fremont Street is now, and that's how the town started, because they kind of wanted to develop a town. But in the beginning, it was like Wild West, you know. So downtown's really more Wild West, whereas the Strip was kind of built by mafia. The Flamingo, that's the longest surviving one. The first one though was right here on this corner, where this festival grounds is right here. It was called the El Rancho Vegas, and that bar. That's why it's not there anymore. But nothing ever got built.
What about Lake Mead?
Lake Mead, that was, built during the Depression. It was part of the Works Act, So they brought a bunch of workers and built that, and that's why Boulder City is the only, I believe there might be another small Mormon town, but I'm pretty sure Boulder City is the only city in Nevada that doesn't allow there's no gaming. You have to go to the outskirts of the town. And at one point it was dry, and for a long time, and then they allowed beer and wine, and then eventually now you can buy hard alcohol there. But it was years that it was a dry town too. So that was built in the 30s in Boulder City. And Lake Mead is from that dam, obviously. Hoover Dam, the original name. I think they renamed it Boulder Dam, but it was named after the President Hoover. So as far as mafia goes, I'll give you my story about mafia in Vegas. I was 17 at the time. My first job, I'm washing dishes. Okay, well, let me preface this. If you know about Casino, the movie.
Yes.
Okay, so the character that Robert De Niro played was based on a real guy. His name was Lefty Rosenthal. And the character that Joe Pesci was based on was another guy. His name was Anthony Spilatro. Lefty Rosenthal managed the casino at the Stardust. Anyway, so in the movie, the guy gets in his car. Somebody put a bomb in there. He blew up. So I'm washing dishes at this restaurant. It's down the street. It used to be a Mexican restaurant. Then it became like a Marie Callender's later. But anyway, I'm washing dishes. I hear an explosion. I open the back door, and there's this guy's Cadillac Eldorado. He started, it blew up. It was Lefty Rosenthal. So I was there when it happened in real life.
Wow.
So I had a friend So here's the other thing about that. In the movie, I never saw the movie, but I read about it. But in the movie, it said that, you know, the reason he survived was because there was a plate in the car or something, a metal plate that he had put in there or was just in that model. But I had a friend whose father was like an enforcer type, and he knew about. He said when he was a kid, he used to go to parties and politicians would go in the bushes with mafia and they'd hand him $10,000 in a sack. I need your vote on that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so my friend told me that that's not why he survived the explosion. He said the reason why he survived because this guy always started his car the same way. He would open the door, roll down the window, and then standing outside of the car, he would stick his arm in and start the car like that. And that was why he survived. So when it blew up, obviously he's standing outside of the car, and all the air is blowing out of it. He blew him away from the car, but he knew. But that was how he would. That was his like way of, you know, hedging his bet.
Yep.
You know. So when I was a kid, they were still blowing up people's cars. And this sign right here at Circuits, when I was a kid, 1970, where that sign is now, there was a giant merry-go-round there. And the other thing is, when you walked in the front door, I was 5 years old, 1970. When you walked in the front door, to the right, there was a big bumper car area where you could get in and ride bumper cars. You know, over time, they took away all that stuff because they figured they could make more money with machines instead of, you know, stuff for kids. But they did build that amusement park in the back, which is cool. They are geared towards kids. So Resorts World is where the Stardust was, right here. The one that Lefty managed. Up on the left, it's right next to Palazzo, just past it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually worked on that. But here's my story about that. This is 1998. We're building a Venetian, and so September 11th, 1998, I fell 33 feet building the Venetian and lived.
What?
Yeah. So, and I landed on where the river comes into the big square. That's where I landed, but there was no water. I landed on concrete. So it's basically about the height of a 10-meter platform dive. That's how far I fell. So I shattered my L5. I have titanium bolts in my back. I broke my wrist. You can see a scar there. And I broke my first metatarsal in my right foot. So it's funny when you're listening to that, you're always going like that. I'm like, no, it's true. I keep wanting to say, no, it's true.
I can't believe you. Let me put some words to that. So were you wearing a harness? I would imagine.
I had a harness on. I didn't have it hooked up. You know, back then it was just like, you know, nobody used them. They were just
to
walk around with them. But
wow.
Nobody had them like,
okay.
tied off. Most people didn't tie off. They were just.
And so that was
required to wear it. You know, like, oh, we have our.
We just have right. It's just
nobody was
like
monitoring
a life
it.
jacket.
Now they do. Enough people died that did. And when that's done, it's going to have over 165,000 speakers in the building.
Speakers? What is it going to be?
It's a concert venue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that whole outside is going to be like a computer screen.
That's ridiculous.
So I was mounting brackets onto these speakers. Some of these speakers, they were from Germany. Company, the main was called Holoplot. Mm-hmm. Anyway, one speaker, $15,000. But they're not all going to be like that. But
what about that bombing event that happened here a couple years ago?
Bombing?
I think it was in the MGM.
The shooting?
Shooting, that's it.
Oh yeah, that was in front of the Mandalay Bay.
Mandalay Bay.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I was in bed sleeping, so I didn't. One time I gave Joe Rogan a ride
Did you?
from here, from MGM, in a limo. It was like when I drove limo, and it was like an SUV kind of.
Yeah, one of those big long.
And I loaded up a bunch of boxes of like recording equipment. And so I get down that road we just came from. We were going out that way to the airport.
Yep.
And I forgot to shut the lid in the back. So I stopped the car and got out and shut the lid. He goes, oh, I said, oh, I left the lid open. And he's like, did anything fall out? And I go, no. And he goes, oh, okay. He was so laid back and cool. He said, oh, okay, whatever. He went back to whatever he's doing. He didn't stress or nothing. Real cool dude.